You know, mountaineering and rock climbing isn't everyone's cup of tea. But for me, being involved in activities such as these is where I became first interested in wildlife. You know, I was only about 3 weeks here in Dalkey Quarry when I saw my first pair of kestrels nesting in the crag over there. And it was some sight. And since then, I've had an insatiable appetite to know more about wildlife and nature. So I began to learn more about birds and mammals and plants. And who knows, the day's not over yet. Okay?
The tern is one of our most attractive seabirds. Its streamlined forked tail has earned it the name sea swallow. 5 species of terns nest in Ireland, and from spring to autumn, these long-distance travellers from Africa can be seen all around our coasts. The Irish Wildbird Conservancy, in conjunction with the Parks and Wildlife Service, organised a survey of all the terns breeding in Ireland in 1995. The objective is to monitor the population of breeding terns and to see what has been happening to the birds since the last census in 1984. The headquarters of the Irish Wildbird Conservancy at Monkstown in County Dublin is where all the planning begins for the tern survey, months before the arrival of the terns from Africa.
Hi.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
How's it going?
Take a seat.
Thanks. Well, I've just got the maps, the new ordnance.
Catherine Hannon's role as project coordinator means that she will have to oversee observers and volunteers all over the country. She will also be very much involved in the actual field work.
Eugene, you're working down in Kilcool this summer.
In a few weeks.
Yeah.
We had a very bad season there last year due to bad weather and
I know.
predation as well.
Was there, what was the productivity even from last year?
Oran O'Sullivan and tern warden Eugene Archer are making preparations for the Little Tern Protection Scheme at Kilcool in County Wicklow.
Certain that the numbers are dropping there rapidly. I think in Eugene's case it'd be nice to get down to the coast, down to Kilcool, and get set up with a caravan and go through all the inventory of things you have, your exclosures, and we'll meet Anthony McElleran, the local ranger, who'll brief you on how we'll conduct the project this year.
Right. Preparations are well underway here at Kilcool in County Wicklow for the Little Tern Protection Scheme prior to the arrival of the terns.
Hello, Anthony.
Local wildlife ranger Anthony McElleran and tern warden Eugene Archer will be keeping a close watch on this colony throughout the breeding season.
Wildlife ranger.
Eugene,
This is one of the exclosures then?
this is an invention of a chap in the IWC who's been doing some work down here for many years for farley. And as you can see, it's just a simple mesh of chicken wire and bamboos. And the whole idea is to prevent predation and also human disturbance, people walking on the eggs, exercising their dogs on the beach, that kind of thing. It also serves, I'll just explain it to you, to keep out other animals like foxes, mink, rats. And we've noticed that during the last few years, a further egg predator is the oyster catcher, a lot of it on the beach here.
I've seen that on the west coast as
So it
well.
has moved right around the whole exclosure.
While they
We bury it.
buried it, yeah.
Right.
Now this prevents dogs coming up and digging, and also foxes.
Get in underneath.
Yeah, exactly. And equally at the top here, if you just notice, we bend the top out. We've seen rats try and get up this way, get up this far, and then they simply can't get over into the exclosure.
Yeah.
For the last 3 years, Catherine, as you probably know, we've had a fairly miserable results here. And in my experience, it takes a breeding success about, for any species, about 1 in 4 to maintain the good breeding stock. So we really need a successful year insofar as we can. We can only control it to an extent. But as you can see, we're doing everything physically possible. And if we could get a good summer, it would be a bonus, because we haven't had one for a while. So we look forward.
Yeah, hopefully this is going to be the year that we'll see the Little Tern do well here at Kilcool.
There is always a great sense of excitement among birdwatchers as they wait for the arrival of the first migrants. It's early spring, and the weather looks anything but good. Let's hope this isn't going to be the story for the rest of the summer. At last, a change in the weather and the first terns have arrived in Ireland. This is Ladies Island in County Wexford. The first to arrive are sandwich terns, the largest of the 5 species of tern that breed here. You will recognise them by the black shaggy crest on the back of the head and the long black bill dipped in yellow. This one is a roseate tern. It has bright red legs and an extremely long tail. The pink flush on the breast, which gives the roseate its name, isn't always obvious. These sandwich terns nest in the open. They come together in tightly packed colonies and trample down the vegetation just before they lay their eggs. Roseates do it differently. They nest under cover, but with the absence of suitable vegetation here on Ladies Island, nest boxes are provided by local wildlife ranger Eugene Wallace. Eugene has to check the nest boxes regularly, and he keeps an up-to-date record of the number of nests on the island. Even though the terns here are nesting quite happily, when Eugene adds up the figures after his first census, the indications are that numbers are down on previous years. Glorious weather makes life a lot easier for Catherine's survey work, especially along this coast.
I've just swum from that island over there, here in Manning Bay in Galway. And the reason why I had to swim was that there was a colony of sandwich and common terns. And I recorded 31 sandwich tern nests and 9 common tern nests, which is really good in terms of these small colonies on these outlying islands. And it's a quite remarkable site in that it's quite near the beach, which is a lot of activity, but they've still successfully been able to hold their own at that site there. The reason why I had to put the notebook in my mouth was because otherwise it would have got wet. The next island will be by boat. Well, these are the sites that I've marked out here in terms of where terns were, the pink sites.
John Roberts has great local knowledge of the waters around Connemara, and especially this area near Ballyconneely. He's going to be a great help in getting Catherine out to some of the small outlying islands.
1984.
Right.
So I always look at the pink areas as being priority.
The maps are colour-coded and indicate areas where terns have been recorded breeding since the first records began.
Okay. All these ones down here, straight over the top of the pier there.
Yeah.
And they're all east of us. And then the couple here now
Yeah.
would be west, which would be over in that direction, towards Sline Head.
Okay. There haven't been terns recorded on Sline Head for a good number of years. They weren't recorded in 1984, so we might be lucky or unlucky
Right.
there.
Okay.
We couldn't ask for better weather to look for terns' nests on those inaccessible islands off the west coast. In calm weather, a wooden curragh is the ideal boat for getting into the islands in these shallow waters. It's been 11 years since any survey was carried out here, and it will be important to find out what's been going on in that time. Back on the east coast, the tern breeding season is in full swing. Kilcool in County Wicklow is a very important little tern colony. The little terns don't crowd into a colony like some of their cousins. They nest on the open shingle beach. This can be a definite disadvantage as the terns leave themselves open to natural predators and to disturbance by humans. Although the eggs are well camouflaged among the stones, predators such as the crow and the oyster catcher watch the comings and goings of the nesting terns and then raid the nest. The little terns have nested on a smaller area of beach this year, and they are also closer together. This makes watching the colony a lot easier for the tern warden. Once the terns lay their eggs, the warden erects a fence around the nesting area, and this protects the birds from natural predators and from human disturbance. It's almost around the clock vigil for Anthony and Eugene, who keep a close eye on the nesting terns.
No, oh, look, we are. One of them has cracked. You can just see the chick moving inside the shell. I don't think we'll concern ourselves with shoring it up for the moment. In about, I'd say, about 30 or so hours, the three of them should have hatched. I think we leave her in peace, let her get on with it, and we'll see her later as well.
Okay.
The birds don't seem to mind being surrounded by wire mesh, and the cages don't interfere with their nesting activities. East winds blow up an unwelcome summer storm, just as the eggs are beginning to hatch. High tides are a real worry, as they can wash away both the eggs and the young chicks. The advantage of having a permanent warden like Eugene is that he can react immediately to unexpected situations.
Hi,
Hi, Catherine.
how's it going?
Not too bad. We've had a bit of trouble with the high tide last night. It's just washed all these stones in.
Yeah, I can see it here along the beach.
It came up
there.
all the way up to here,
Yeah.
and the water was washing over the top.
Did they run under there for cover or anything?
Yeah, we put in these chicks screens, and if predators should get in, like the kestrel get into the thing, at least they can get in there behind them and they can still get out to the middle.
Well, it seems to be working out very well.
Yeah, we've got about another 20 or so eggs as well in other nests.
And I believe there are 30 pairs this year.
We reckon we've got 32
32 now?
pairs altogether.
That's excellent.
So good breeding season for a change.
On the west coast as well, the numbers seem to be up in Galway.
Good.
And Mayo. But again, they're nesting on beaches like this, which is the shingle shoreline. And it's just so prone to disturbance.
Should we get people walking along here like every evening from 6 to 10?
Yeah.
Lots of them. And for every single turn just flies up.
How has it been in terms of predators on the colony here?
Not too bad. We've lost about 10 to a kestrel.
Right.
We lost 6 chicks to some kind of mystery illness, and we've lost 2 eggs so far, so
yeah.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Under 20 anyway.
Well, it just shows you the work that's been quite successful this year.
The kestrel hunts here all year round, but life can be easier for it in Kilcool during the summer, especially when there are tern chicks available along the beach. But the kestrel is also a protected species, and the exercise here is not to harm it, but to scare it away. It's early morning, and the young fox has been attracted to the beach by the sound of the birds. Very often the first sign of a predator is when the birds suddenly take to the air and move in close together. This kind of a tightly packed flock of terns is known as a dread. A dread is always guaranteed to put the warden on alert. The kestrel's main interest are the chicks running around on the beach, but it also keeps a watchful eye on the warden, who has already scared it off on several occasions this week. There are casualties in every tern colony, and we don't really know what happened to this tern. But the numbered ring tells us that it was ringed here at Kilcool in 1988. These disused telegraph poles, which used to run along the railway line, were becoming too useful as lookout posts for kestrels and hooded crows. The poles were eventually cut down, and this helped to reduce the threat. Imagine choosing a spot for a nest right in between the sleepers on the main Dublin to Wexford line. Well, that's just what this oyster catcher has done. There's not much human disturbance here, but the trains run regularly here in both directions from morning to evening. No sooner has the danger passed than the oyster catcher is back on her eggs, waiting for the next train. It's midway through the tern survey and Catherine is back at the headquarters of the Irish Wildbird
Are you
Conservancy.
planning to get back out on the water again, Catherine?
Hopefully the day after tomorrow.
Right.
Because we need to get back on.
Have you rendezvoused with Simon yet?
Yeah, I'm ringing him this evening.
Okay.
And just organised to meet him over in Letterfrack, probably.
All right.
Okay, one moment. Hello, Catherine here. Hi, it's Rockabill.
Oh, great.
I can hardly hear them because of all the noise of the turns.
Yeah.
Yeah? Yeah? That's great. Numbers are up in Rockabill.
Really? That's terrific news. Excellent. Well done, everybody.
Okay, talk to you later. Bye. That's great. Numbers are up. They've just done the nest census, 554 pairs of rose eggs.
Excellent, yeah.
Yeah.
Are they... Ladies Island, they were slightly down this year.
They were, yeah. So that's great.
They basically just shifted up there.
That means there's a movement from Ladies Island to, or could mean a movement from Ladies Island to Rockabill.
This is Rockabill. It's the largest roseate tern colony in Western Europe, and it lies 4 miles off the North Dublin coast. According to the latest figures, there are over 1,000 roseate terns nesting here at Rockabill. Because the roseates need cover, the nest boxes have really encouraged more roseate terns to nest here, and they are having a very good year. There seems to be no shortage of food here, and adults are coming and going all day carrying sand eels and sprats to feed their young. The chicks develop here very quickly, and so they must. They have a long trip to Africa facing them in September. Some of the colonies along the west coast were visited too early in the breeding season, so Catherine has to make a return visit later on in the summer in order to make a final count of the nests. Unfortunately, the tourist season coincides with the tern breeding season, and Catherine has found a reduction in the number of terns nesting on mainland coasts.
Okay, I can jump off from here.
Jump off now.
Yeah. I think the nest area is mainly over there. Okay.
Out on these outlying islands, the area is relatively undisturbed, and this is where Catherine hopes to find an increase in numbers.
Oh, there's one here. Oh, there's a dead tern here as well. That's been predated on. It's a common tern. So I'll just feel the eggs to see if they're still warm. They're cracked. It's abandoned. So the tern was obviously predated on. So the eggs were abandoned. That's a shame. Oh, here as well. There's another nest here with 2 dead chicks in it. Obviously predated as well. Oh. Oh, hang on. There's something in there. Oh. And it's a common, because you can tell by the length of the legs. So it's a common. So one survived after all. And it's pretty healthy. It's about 3 weeks old. Oh, I'd better leave it back. Oh, that's great. Okay. I better check out the other area over here. Oh, look. That's the second nest that I found with just 1 egg in it. There's obvious signs of predation on this island, and on the return visit, as it's towards the end of the tern survey, these 2 nests that have 1 egg in them are obviously second broods.
as there's just one egg left, and it's still an active nest because I can feel it's quite warm. Notice how I don't pick it up, because if I do, it can damage the delicate membrane and veins inside. But even if the chicks hatch, it's unlikely at this late stage that they're going to make it back to Africa.
It seems that the terns on these outlying islands are not really disturbed by humans, but instead are predated upon by natural enemies such as the oyster catcher. It's late summer, and Catherine has come across a group of international wildlife artists at Ringmarsh near Ladies Island in County Wexford. They visit different countries to paint wildlife, and this year they've chosen Ireland. The adult terns, along with their young, are resting and preening themselves, so the artists have chosen a really good place to capture beautiful images of the birds.
Yeah, I know, but it's better shade than, you know.
An exhibition of the artists' work takes place here in the pump house at the Wexford Wildfowl Reserve on the North Slob. Wandering around the exhibition gives Catherine a welcome break from the demands of the tern survey.
This is a result of all the hard work by those visiting artists we met down at Ringmarsh in Wexford. It's remarkable to see such a variety of birds and habitats. You know, terns are quite nervous animals, and here Michael Warren has captured them taking flight up out of the water in what are known as dreads. He's caught the swerving movement of the birds really well. And also here on the rocks, where you can see them preening their feathers for their long flight back to Africa.
It's back to work. The demands of the tern survey are never far away, and all the information has to be assessed back at the headquarters of the Irish Wild Bird Conservancy.
This may look like boring work, and I suppose it is, compared to being out on the islands looking for the terns. But now all the information is beginning to come in from other volunteers that were involved in the tern survey. And I have to put all that information together so I can have a complete picture of what all the species of terns were like in Ireland this year.
It's September and the end of the tern breeding season. Here at Maiden's Rock in Dalkey, County Dublin, terns gather in their thousands from all over Ireland, and some come here from as far away as Anglesey in North Wales. This is the first step for both adults and juveniles as they prepare for the very long journey back to Africa. The results of the survey are now in, and despite the success of the little tern colony at Kilcool in County Wicklow, the latest figures show that the little tern numbers have seriously declined in the last 11 years. Sandwich tern numbers have also declined. The good news is that roseate tern numbers are on the increase, so they have had a very good year. The recommendations of the 1995 survey will be that a conservation strategy plan be drawn up for all 5 species of terns in Ireland, and in particular for the special protection of the little tern.
It's the end of the tern breeding season, and as you can see, the beach is totally empty now. All the terns are spending the winter in West Africa, and we were very lucky here in Kilcool because it turned out that it was one of the largest little tern colonies in Ireland. So all that's left for me to do now is to take the last remaining notice board, and let's hope that the terns will return again next year.